I've learned. Hopefully I'm not that.
Can you just put this on?
Only if the whole entire lumber asks me to do this.
The whole entire
For one
lumber.
person, I won't do it, but like for everybody. I do this on the outside?
Wherever.
Okay. So there should be 45 copies. They should be someplace. There's not 45 people here. Oh, there they are. Take one, Adam, right there. Anyone else need? Okay, so the classic Gemara of Chanukah, and as oftentimes we jump to too high levels. We look at the Mahadran and the Mahadran and the Mahadran. We start talking about Hillel and Shammai so much, we miss the foundational din and the amazing insight that din should give us. That's what we're trying to look on. So let's just go through the Gemara quickly, then we'll focus on our one word, and then we'll try and look at that one word in three different perspectives and see what it teaches us, without looking advanced at what's going on in the pages beyond, like Ephraim's doing. Don't let him pick it up, Daniel. He's smart enough the way it is. We don't need him looking ahead. Okay, here we go. Tana Rabbanan. Mitzvahs Chanukah ner ish ubeso. We learn the Baiso. The mitzvah of Chanukah, what is it? Ner, a candle. Ish, a man. Ubeso, his house. Mahadran, if we're going to do more than that, we'll just fit the lumdish in there. We know there's two pshatim in it. Rashi learns Mahadran. If you want to go back from the word Mahadr and do the mitzvah better, this is the way to do it. Rabbeinu Hanan on the Rambam learned Mahadran comes from the word Hidr mitzvah, from beauty, beautify the mitzvah. Then Ner l'kol echad v'echad. Each person in the house lights their own candles. We'll see what that means, but we won't right now. Mahadran mina Mahadran, beautification of the beautification, or going back and nuancing it a second time. Beishami omrim yom rishon madlik shmona, the first day you light 8. Mikan va'elech poches v'cholech, from there on you go down. Beis Hillel omrim yom rishon madlik echas. Mikan va'elech mosif v'holech. Wonderful. We're not doing the whole last two lines. We're doing the lines that everyone usually skips, and we're going to try and look at it. So the first 7 words, that's all we're looking at. Tana Rabbanan, mitzvahs Chanukah ner ish ubeso. Rashi says on that, the 4th line on your page, ner ish ubeso. Ner echad b'kol laila, one candle every night. V'ish v'kol b'nei beso, a man and all of the people of his house. Sagi lahu, it's enough for them b'ner echad, with one candle. Right? Take it away. You know how to do 4 steps. Go through the 4 steps in this Rashi. Come back and talk to me. I'll see you.
Explaining that what it says, Ner ish echad, sorry, Ner Baiso, is really just getting down to the point of
Be quiet, and the alumni can go ahead and take it. They got the best seats, and Binyamin's too smart to look right at me, so he's stuck. Okay, that's each one's what's bothering Rashi, and then you can pass it around. Yeah, take it away, Ben.
We believe that.
How many things are bothering Rashi? I guess I have to go.
How many things?
Yeah. Oh. I'll get away with 2. If 3 would be better, but 2 is at least a start. Don't worry, the alumni. I just want to explain to the Machon Shlomo guys, I got many alumni emails last night. They said if they flunked today's test, can they come back to the yeshiva? I told them no. So don't even try, Ben. Yeah. Go ahead.
Alright, so ner is singular. It's like it says ner ish Baiso. So you would assume that maybe it says neros. That would be more textual, but it does not say that. So that's one issue. He addresses right away with ner chad. Ish Baiso. What does that mean? He separates usually.
I'm sorry, too. Go.
What else?
Explain your questions. Go, Glenn. Those are like weak. You want to pass it to Alex? You can pass it to Alex if you want. It's okay. You can call an expert. It's like, I'm sure Daniel is helping Alex over there. Don't worry. He's good. It's two alumni working together. I know it's hard.
Want me to go through all the questions first, or the?
Yeah, why don't you go over the questions first? Just get the questions really clear.
So why is it one candle, or what's ner?
What first question? First question is, why is ner singular? Why is ner singular? And I think Ben's taking a little bit the wrong way, but ner's singular, and we don't have a time definition on it. Ner, what's that mean? We have to have a Chanukah candle going the whole year, right? Remember that great, over here, the ner tamid or something. We have to have the ner going. So there's no definition of what that ner is. That's the first question. Second question is what? Ben, what do you want to describe it?
Two subjects. So each for Baiso. I think it's unusual talking about a man in his house. Like you should say.
And I agree, it's unusual, and that's because you're used to Hebrew, right? So it's like just to find what's unusual to you. We've got a gut question. We now need a head question. I never knew there was an obligation on a house. What do you mean on Baiso? What's the obligation? What's the word house mean? I understand there's an obligation on a man that I've got clear. But all of a sudden you're telling me deep ideas that we're talking about. This becomes some kind of science fiction award, that Judaism believes that physical objects also have spirituality, and we got to tell the Chabadnikim, they got to put tefillin on human beings and on every doorpost they find, or what's Baiso mean? What's the word Baiso mean? Rashi's bothered. We all should be bothered what that means. Two good questions. We can go for that. And then the third one, right? What does ish mean in a little bit? We'll go for it. We're good. Okay. Ben, you good with it? Perfect. Well, not perfect, but you're good. Good. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah, you're free, Ben. You can ask whoever you want now. Any alumni, ask them. Get the answers now. Step 2.
We're gonna keep it right here.
Ben can do whatever he wants. I trust their sense of humor. Go for it, guy.
What?
We got to ask the question first, Ben. You got to have a dialogue. We talk like I'm trying to train you how to talk with your wife. You're going to ask a question, she's going to answer.
All right, what is Baiso? Sort of the second one.
Why don't you do an order first? Can you make it easy for me?
We can do so there. Why is there singular?
Why is there singular?
Okay, come over here and join Pinchas over here. Join these three guys. Silent Lidan.
Rashi, the way I understood it, Rashi,
Go with Lidan.
we have one candle for the entire house. I thought there was maybe one candle on one hand per person, or just one candle on the family unit, enough to.
It's enough.
Yeah, I know. Right? Sorry.
It says Kallah.
Yeah, never comes to full light. One candle per night. I say you should say Ner Ish Baiso.
I think he's addressing the time aspect. He's saying that every day.
Every day has one candle.
Boom, that's the first thing. First question is, Ner, what's the time? Do we have to have it going all year long? Do we have to go for 24 hours? Do we have to go for 20 minutes? What do we have to do? So Rashi's first answer is, you don't know what the Ner means. So Rashi describes what the Ner means. It means, right, B'kol Laila, every night. You have to light a new candle every night like you do, and you do it because of Rashi. You don't see it clearly in the words, but the question is, I'll give you 3 big options. One option is we have to always remember Chanukah for always and ever, and there's got to be an eternal light going on in shuls all around. This is what all the olive oil dealers would have liked it the halacha to be, right, going forever. Second answer is it should be like the miracle of Chanukah. We should light it once, and it should go for all 8 days. You got one of those week-long Shiva candles, right? You've seen these candles that are massive candles, and you should light it, and it should be similar to the miracle of Chanukah, that they lit it once and it went going for 8 days. Or it's every night and every night. And actually, I'll bring the fourth opinion, which you don't know, but the fourth opinion is Maimonides talks out in Pirush Mishnayos that it should be twice a day. You think just like in the Baiso Migdash, you lit in the morning and at night, you should light twice a day also the Chanukah candles. But so those are the options, okay?
Twice a day for the whole year?
No, for Chanukah.
So I'm saying that when this quantifies mitzvah Chanukah, we already know, are we in the Gemara, we already assuming that Chanukah is 8 days?
Yes.
So the opinions that it should go for the entire time is the entire year, as you said, there's 2 of them. It's a little bit unusual to, right? Like, if it's bound by Chanukah, you know, Chanukah is 8 days, why would we assume that mitzvah Chanukah would apply outside of it?
Because we're assuming that the Hadlaka was building up the Baiso Migdash again, and the Baiso Migdash lit the whole time, and we should therefore have it light the whole time also. We have to be involved in it. Our lighting back there has kept the Baiso Migdash going. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. All right, so step 3 question obviously spoke out, I think, pretty clearly. Step 3 question obviously to confront you is, well, why don't we do it like the miracle of Chanukah? If we were remaking Chanukah ourselves, we would think that you should take one of these big candles and light it and to go for all 8 days. Right? That's where our step 3 question. How come we don't do that? Why do we light Kol Yom V'Yom, like Rashi says? Ner Echad B'Kol Laila. Why do we do it Ner Echad B'Kol Laila? I'll let you take your chavrusa, talk about it for 2 minutes, we'll come back with an answer. Go. And then Moshe gets first crack at it. Go. The question's clear to everybody? 3 major answers in the Rishonim. Go for it. What? No, tell what you think. I want you to out for everyone the step 3 question. Your chavrusa Moshe is going to answer. Loud. He doesn't see in the Gemara. He sees in Svar. It's not in the Gemara. It ain't there, that's for sure. Yeah, go ahead. What's the question? I would ask the question, I think the step 3 question would be, when Rashi understands what to do, why doesn't Rashi understand to do it like the miracle that happened in the Baiso Migdash? If the miracle was the greatness was it lasted for 8 days, we should also light once and watch it go for 8 days. Why don't we do it that way?
There was only enough oil for 1 day, though.
Excuse me?
There's only enough oil
for 1 day. And it lasted for 8, so that's what we should do. We should have it go for 8 days. There might be an answer in your question, but that's what the question is. Take away, Moshe. What's first? Go. How do you want to answer the question?
How do I answer the question? I just wanted to I just wanted to add another question.
No! No! We're focused on one question. There's so many questions we can do here. I'm trying to do this an hour and a half. We got to go for it. We're going to keep No, it's okay. Go. Yeah, Moshe.
I only thought it was a deer from the
No, okay. No, Gail, do you have an answer?
Yeah, so Bruce suggested.
Omer, Mark, throw Mark under the bus.
So Mark says they didn't light one big candle in the Baiso Migdash. They lit the oil container, whatever, that had enough, that was able to hold enough for 1 day. So we have to light. You have to put something that's going to have enough oil just for 1 day. And then the next day do it again. Otherwise, it's not like the way it happened in the Baiso Migdash.
It's not.
Oh, it is. Inside the shtadas. They put enough oil for 1 day. Not an ace.
No, I'm saying if you would get like one huge flask of to hold enough oil for 8 days, so that wouldn't be like what it was in the.
That's not the mitzvah. That's not what happened then.
Right.
Doesn't it say mitzvahs, Chanukah? If you let it be one mitzvah?
What?
Does it say mitzvahs, Chanukah?
It says the mitzvah. One mitzvah.
Yeah, it says mitzvahs.
No, that's not good. That's like no, it's one mitzvah. The mitzvah of Hanukkah. Not mitzvot.
No?
It's a concept.
I'm going for you, Gil. Go for it. Describe what you want to describe. You got to save Mark. You can't make Mark be wrong.
Mark had a good idea.
Right, so work on it. So explain it. They're attacking you. Go for it.
So what are we doing when we light the menorah? making a zecher, we're making something that reminds us of the nace of Chanukah that was in the Beis Hamikdash. So in order to show what happened in the nace, we have to show that they didn't have enough oil for 8 days. They had enough oil just for 1 day, and it kept going. So we have to have enough oil just for 1 day, and then when it runs out, because for us it's not actually a nace, it's a remembrance, so we have to do it again.
Good. So and that's the answer. We have to do a little bit because that's what we remember. If you had this big gargantuan candle, you would think that, it was natural that it burned. We have to remember that it's going to naturally go out, and that they had a miracle. When ours goes out, we realize ours is natural and theirs is miraculous, and we're trying to remember what's going on. Answer number one, right? Good. Yeah, Rob.
If that one.
You give me a second answer now, or are you going to argue on it?
Question on this.
Oh, we're not going to get as far as I want.
If you lit one night, the first night, and it lasted to the second night,
Yes.
and it was still lit,
Yes.
but you only put an amount of oil that should have been enough for one night.
I'll make you a Hasidic Rebbe.
Is that a Gemara?
I'll be even better. I'll make you Rosh Hashanah of Machon Shlomo. You can become
You have to light again?
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes, you do. So explain why. That's one different answer. That's going to be the Taz's answer. So now you're giving an answer.
Because we are showing the nace every night because it was only supposed to be.
That's what we're doing. The din is our din of proactivity, that we have to show how active we have to be, that it was our dinim that brought it on, and therefore that's what's happening over here, special and unique. Every night we have to light to show that in our world we have to keep growing. We are not at the level of that nace, and therefore we have to light because we have to realize we're lacking something, so we have to grow. And that's why it's called chinuch, the Bach says. They're going to keep growing and developing, becoming. Okay, two good answers. I'm not going to go with anymore. We got an idea we have to go for. Back again to Ben. Okay, the second part of the problem. What's the second problem? The problem in Rashi? What's second? Back to question number one.
The second question is, we said, what is house?
What is house?
Yeah.
Good, great. You can ask. Yeah, I guess Pinchas. Go ahead. Kallah.
What is Baiso? Is your wife.
Baiso's your wife. That's so beautiful. I love your wife. Isn't that warm and sweet? 1 second. Oh, he's always thinking of you.
Rashi uses the family structure. Not the northern, there's also the physical aspects.
I'll take that too.
No, you're going to take the Rashi. So of course Pinchas is wrong. Rashi doesn't say like Pinchas says. Rashi's afraid that you could learn possibly two different ways. One way is Ishu Baiso is a man and his house, and that's it. Or you could learn a man and his wife, and that's it. Or you learn a man and everybody in the house.
Individually.
And Rashi learns the third way. He doesn't learn Isho's Baiso, like all those wonderful chas and shirim that Pinchas had and brings out to his wife every day. But Rashi wants to learn not like the normative language of Baiso. And that's what Rashi adds on. Do we see that? V'kol b'nei Baiso sagilu b'nei echad. Everyone sagi with one house. He learns the word Baiso with a Chiddush Rashi, that it's a din in every individual in the house. And we have to figure out later on with step 3s and 4s what the powerful depth of that is. Okay? But we have to, because of lack of time, we're going to focus on the two questions. One question is, the Nair is for how long and for what? And the second one is Baiso. Who does the Baiso describe? And actually, I'm even going to be smart. We're just going to focus on Baiso right now. What's Baiso mean? Take a look at the Rambam. Please tell me how the Rambam argues on Rashi, how the Rambam deals with Rashi's questions, and why they argue, and we'll get into the philosophical issues going on Rambam. The Rambam starts off Hilchis Chanukah. Kama neros umadlik b'Chanukah. How many neros do you light in Chanukah? Mitzvah is shia kol bayis ubayis. The mitzvah is that every house, each and every house, kol bayit v'bayit, each and every house, madlik ner echad. Bein shiyu anshe abayis merubin, whether there's lots of people, bein shalayu bayilo ela adam echad, whether there's only one man inside of it. Hebrews good. Tutors can help everybody through. Loma can help. Take it away. How does Rambam answer the second question of Rashi? How does he disagree with Rashi? What philosophical difference does that make with Rashi? And who's better in the text? Take it away. Okay. Here we go. Okay. How's Rambam disagree with Rashi?
He said the focus is on the house.
Boom. Focus on the house, not in man. Amazing chiddush, right? Focus on the house, not in the man. He says, ish ubeso. Ish ubeso, and the word ish almost gets swallowed up. And the chiv is on chobayis ubayis. The obligation is on every house and every house. Everybody, of course, asks, okay, that's the answer. So Rashi says it goes on individuals. Who is closer to reading the text of the Rashi? There it is. You can tell at least he learned of Machon Yaakov. You can tell he learned of Machon Yaakov. We give Rashi and Chumash here, so you have to always go for Rashi. But no, I'm going to go with the Baruch over here. Baruch, argue with him. Tell you who to.
This is Chanukah.
List loud and clear.
Ner ish Baiso. It sounds like that you need something called ish and Baiso. When you see Baiso, you don't automatically associate that to be everyone inside the house.
Unless you're married, then it can be your wife. I'll accept Pinchas's Musar understanding of it. But if you're learning a
single
lesson.
guy who will have right or not?
What about a single guy who has 5 houses?
Boom, boom, boom. That's going to be the Chiddush L'Halacha and the Be'er Halacha. You've got it. He's going to hold a single guy who's in the desert, doesn't have to light. But go ahead, take it away.
No, so it says Ner ish Baiso. You need these two components called an ish and a bias.
You need an ish and a bias. Rashi makes up that the word Baiso means people, right? It means, and it doesn't just mean your wife, it means other people. Learning the text, medayik in the text, clearly, Baiso means house.
Means house.
Okay.
But then what do you
No.
ish though? You can't it's just
That's right.
So the way that I think about it, you have a least common denominator or greatest common denominator. So if you have a guy with 5 houses, then he only lights 1. But if you have 20 guys in one house, then they only light 1.
Alex, too complicated. It's a very good question. It's the Prima Gudim's question here, but I'm not going to accept it right now. You're right. He's 100% right, but at the end of all the Lamdash asks your question. Right now, let's just take where we're going with right over here. Okay, so if you read the text, I think literally exactly, we understand like the Rambam. And the Rambam is actually the Shulchan Aruch. There's a din on Ishu Baiso, right? Ishu Baiso. But now,
It's one group. It's one
but now the question is, you got it, right? The question is, wait a second. What do you mean Ishu Baiso? Baruch can say this Lamdish, but like what? There's obligations on the house, and you can't forget the word Ish. What does that Ish Ubeso mean? Okay, so that's the question that everybody asks in the Rambam. Beis Yosef asks in the Rambam. What's it mean Ish Ubeso? Okay, so what's the getter? So just so we can get it clear with time, I think a little bit, we'll do it. So the lashon of Ish Ubeso, the Beis Yosef understands the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch hold. It's like a din in tzitzis, right? I'm not going to look at which Machon Yaakov guy is not wearing tzitzis, right? But if you're not mechuyev, you're an ish, but you're not obligated to wear tzitzis until you have an arba kanfos. There's a din of, and why that is, we'll have to talk about. We're going to get there, but the way that we understand the Rambam according to Beis Yosef is that according to Rashi, the chiyuv, I'm trying to make this I'm going to make 3 gedarim to make it easy for us over here. The first getter is the mitzvah of Chanukah is like a din in Talmud Torah tefillin. It's an obligation directly on the individual. Direct obligation on the individual. The second one is a din like tzitzis. A person's obligated, but only if he has a house. If you don't have a house, you're not obligated. Why does it work that way? We're going to have to figure out. We're going to say 3 or 4 svaras on what's going on. But it's a din like tzitzis. So now we've answered your question, right? Ish ubeso means what? The chiyuv is on you, but only when you have a house. If you don't have a house, if you're in the desert, you're not mechuyev. And the Beis Yosef holds you're not mechuyev. You're in the desert, you're not mechuyev. If what? According to Rambam, you're not mechuyev. You're not mechuyev. Only mechuyev you have a house. Rashi holds you're chayiv in the desert by yourself. It's a normal din. If you walked in here before tonight, I should have did it. I didn't set it up right. But we walked in. I would say, what's the chiyuv of of Chanukah, the chiyuv of Chanukah, you would tell me, is to presume nisa, to make known the miracle of Chanukah. And you think it's a mitzvah, just like you have to put on tefillin, or you have to learn Torah. There's a mitzvah, I have to presume nisa. And wherever I am, if you're taking a trip to the Dead Sea, right? And so you light the Dead Sea. You do it everywhere you want, and you can go do it. That'd be Rashi's shita. Rambam says no. If you don't have a house, you don't do it. It's like nobody walks around, right? Like, you can check Mark. Mark doesn't have 4 tzitzis in his pocket because my shirt doesn't have 4 tzitzis, doesn't have 4 corners, but I'm going to wear tzitzis anyway in my pocket just to remember the mitzvah. If you don't have a 4-cornered garment, you don't do it. That's the way Rambam understands it. And okay, are we good? So Rashi doesn't learn the language. Doesn't learn the language as exactly as the Rambam. And he learns from that people. So now the question, of course, always goes. The Ritva always says, when the language is not exact in Rashi, Rashi will follow language unless there's a svara that bothers him. And of course, the svara that bothers him is, why is it that this chiyuv is limited to a house? I want Pirsumei Nisa for everybody. Therefore, he has to change the simple language and says there's a logic over there that overweighs the language and puts me in the language, and there must be Pirsumei Nisa for everybody all over. So we're going to have Rashi has a logic that he thinks is more powerful, and we're going to have to explain Rambam a lot. And Rambam thinks I'm learning the language of the Gemara, and I think it's just like a man with his 4-cornered garment. That's what he hears it as. So far, so good? Okay. Tosfos has a third shita. Tosfos' third shita is the third way of learning up this question of what Baiso means. We'll see it in a moment if we can. So, how Tosfos gets into it, there's an amazing thing. We don't do it with any other mitzvah. The Gemara in Sukkos, Mem Vav, discusses it a lot. The only mitzvah, if you see it, and you're not lighting yourself, you see it, you have to stop everything you're doing, and you make the 2 blessings that we make on lighting Chanukah candles, is ner mitzvah, is Chanukah. You see, you're that guy walking in the Dead Sea, and you see some guy who's got his palace over there, and hopefully it's not some Arab sheik. And you can tell it's not an Arab sheik because he's got a menorah in the window. So you're in Dead Sea, you're holding like Rashi, I can't light because I don't have a house. I see somebody else's, I can make a bracha. Tosfos asks, why do we do this just for that? Why don't we make a bracha when we see a person putting on tefillin, shaking lulav, blowing shofar? Why is this the only mitzvah we have that we make a bracha on seeing? Now, in his answer to this question, we're going to see a third approach to this question of what Baiso is. Okay, take a look. So, Tosfos Sukkos Mem Vav Amud Aleph. Haroa ner shel Chanukah tzrich levarich. If you see the ner of Chanukah, you have to make a blessing. B'shar mitzvahs, other mitzvahs, kigon alula v'sukkah, other mitzvahs like sukkah or sing a sukkah or sing lulav, lo tikun levarich leroa. We don't make the blessing. Why is this unique? It's an amazing answer. Again, it reverts probably a whole class, a lot of personal introspection. But first answer, Ela gabi ner Chanukah mishum chavivas hanes. We love the miracle of Chanukah more than everything else. Mitzvahs are mitzvahs. They're things we do in the world. We remember God's love for us and the miracle, chavivas, the love of the nes, therefore we do it. So we just love it so much, you can't hold it back. You just got to say, I love you. Kind of like seeing alumni come back to the Beis Medrash. It would be better if they get the answers right, but it's okay. There's a litfish and a Hasidic side to me. What can I do? It's like, we go for it. Okay. But so that's what we're going for. Do we hear what's going on? First answer, okay? Question is what again? Question is, why do you make a blessing of sight just on Chanukah? Again, just halach l'maisa, so we know what we're talking about. It's only a blessing of sight if you're not lighting it yourself. Never do this. If you do this, we're doing something wrong, right? Okay. V'gam, now here's the second reason. Mishum sheyesh kama b'nei adam she'ein lehem batim. There are many people that don't have houses. I don't want to explain, but according to Tosfos, basically that means all of you guys who are living in the house over here. in the yeshiva. It's not your house, you don't own it. You can't do it in a rented place. You don't have a house. Ve'en biyadam l'kayim mitzvah. And they can't do the mitzvah. A house is so important and so essential that you can't do the mitzvah. And therefore, because by lulav, everyone can do the mitzvah. By sukkah, everyone can do the mitzvah. But buying a $500,000 house in Har Nof, that's not in everybody's hands. Yoni relates. Okay, there we are. Look at Yoni smiling. Right, like, so.
Maybe that's 1.7.
So that's why we do it. Now, okay. So I've just explained. We said Rashi holds that the din of Chanukah is like the din you have on Talmud Torah or putting on your tefillin. It's a straight din on your person. Everybody in the house has to light. We do it. Second opinion is the Rambam, which is the din on the house, and it's like tzitzis. There's a chiyuv on you as a person, and then if you have a house, then you have to do it. Tosfos, we're going to see, holds the third way. Tosfos holds the third way, and it's going to be pretty shocking. Tosfos says over here, why? Why do you need the first turrets? V'tama Rishon, why did I have to tell you the first reason? Why can't I just say that it's because you can't own a house? Why do I have to tell you we love the mitzvah also? I have to put two together. I have to have half and a half. I don't want you to ask me that every time you see a mezuzah, you should also have to make a blessing, because it's hard to get a $500,000 house again. So it should be that every time you see a mezuzah, poor Yoni over there doesn't own his house. Every time he walks in to see, he should make a blessing on the mezuzahs he sees, because he can't do it. So apparently there should be a simple answer to divide between this and the Rambam. Maybe just I'll do it fast for us. This is the third level of chiyuv. The third level of chiyuv is, one chiyuv is Rashi. I'm obligated myself, who cares what I got? Second one is Rambam. I'm obligated if I have a house, it's like tzitzis. Third obligation is mezuzah. There is no obligation, I'm here for you, Cal. You have absolutely no obligation to worry about a mezuzah. You have no obligation mezuzahs. A house has to have mezuzah. The din of a house, it does not fall on you. It's not an obligation on a person to put up a mezuzah. The obligation of mezuzah is an obligation on the house. It's completely on the house. And Tosfos holds this way. Tosfos holds that the din of lighting candles is a din in Baiso. The ish is a smaller aspect, and the real chiyuv. If I walk up and you build a house and I put a mezuzah on it, I've done the mitzvah of mezuzah. I don't have to have a connection to your house. There's a din, a chiyuv to put on a mezuzah. That's what I've done, and that's what Tosfos holds. Tosfos holds the chiyuv of the bias is so strong that there's no chiyuv on you. It's just like mezuzah. So we have three levels. Rashi holds it's like tefillin. Tosfos holds it's like tzitzis. Rambam holds it's like tzitzis, and Tosfos holds it's like mezuzah. Do you hear the three levels? Yeah, of chiyuv. Yes, Mark.
How does Tosfos explain why there's the word ish Baiso instead of Shiur Baiso?
So he's going to, good question, and the Shach asked the question, and the answer is because the person who puts it up has to be a person who's got das. He learns an ish as an adult, and children who are not chayiv in the mitzvah of mezuzah can't put it up. It's got to be a person who knows what he's doing who puts it up. But but you're right, it should say Baiso, V'ish or something. I think Rambam's going to push, like your language, that's not what it says. The first chiyuv's in itself and it goes in the Baiso, but Tosfos here is holding, it's just like mezuzah. All we need is a person who knows what he's doing to put it on. Yes?
What's the difference between tzitzis and mezuzah?
Tzitzis is a chiyuv on me when I have a garment to do it. Mezuzah is a chiyuv on the house. You right now, someone who has no house there's no obligation to put up a mezuzah. A house has to have mezuzah. A house has to have a mica. A house has to have a protection on the top. Those are dinim on a chefza, not on the gavra, not on the person, but dinim on the chefza to do it. Tosfos holds it would be like that. It's like mezuzah.
A person has to do it.
A person has to do it, but the obligation is to fix the house up. A house that doesn't have a mica, A house that doesn't have a guard railing on the top, right? Do you have to walk around? When am I going to do the mitzvah of Micah? No, when there's a house, it's dangerous. You got to put it up. When there's a house with a door.
Kesher to the house?
Even if I have no cash at the house. Okay, those are the three levels we're going for. What we have to do now is, okay, so now we see Baiso is important. So of course the obvious question is, as arguing on Rashi, to explain Rambam and Tosfos, why is Baiso so important? We're making this unbelievable obligation and concentration. You have to have a house. Hear what the question is? Are we good? So just do Baiso for me. I think there's a simple, solid answer. And then we'll go into three answers that I learned from my rabbis, and we'll try and take a look at that. Okay, go. You ready? Fran, you have an answer, you think? You have something to talk? You want to give the answer? Going to give an answer? No?
I can do the next one.
Shai or Shlomo, do you have an answer?
We're working on it.
I'm sorry I'm rushing. I'm just trying to get that through. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So what? I'll go. Solid normative answer, appears it's the way Mishnah Berurah wants to learn, is that the din in Baiso is a din that the Greeks were just about ideas. And Chanukah is about sanctifying the physical world. The reason we're putting Ish Baiso on is we want to bring the ideas out to action. It's got to come down here to the physical world. The best place, again, if you think that the whole idea is just to do persume nisa, to advertise the miracle, then you'd think you should put it at the highest part of your building and send it out. Where do you actually want to do it? Between 3 and 10 tefachim, very low, because you're trying to bring it into the house. The job of the mission is to take the light that's on high and bring it down here. So Baiso is very important. The idea of Chanukah, and that's why he called Chanukah Sabayis, is that and that's what the language again of the tour is. Chanukah Sabayis is to bring the light all the way down here. So rather than being just, why do we need a house? Because Greeks thought that the mitzvah of life is to connect to the Seichel HaPoel, to connect to God's active intellect, try and be an ascetic and go all the way upstairs. Judaism thought that's why they didn't like bris milah. We don't like bringing things down. The idea of a Baiso, why is it special din of the rabbis on Baiso? Because we want to fight them and say, we believe, they believe, leave to, as Jesus said, leave to God what is God's and leave to Caesar's what is Caesar's. Jews believe everything is God's, and what you think is Caesar's, we're going to sanctify the house also. And therefore there's a special concentration that's not normal for the mitzvah of tefillin or for the mitzvah of Talmud Torah on a house, on physicality. And mitzvahs to sanctify the physical world. I think that's the easy, simple way. Hopefully here, and I would take questions because I love Marcus. Except I just want to get 2 or 3 answers. I want to keep on schedule, okay? So if we can go. Unless it's a bomb question, it's a bomb question. If it's a side question, you just want to talk. You've got, I can't see who's behind Phil over there you can talk to. But you got it right. Yes?
The previous year, it was all about Sham. That we were all Sham, they're all Po. And now you're seeing the opposite.
So it depends what we're responding to, of course.
Okay.
In America, in a Roman society, we want to get there because they're just all here. In the side it's all there, we want to show them we're also here. Judaism's always playing what's the missing note in the world is. Our chagim, as the morale explains, in their mitzvahs, we're responding to what the negative pushes from the outside world. Okay, but I'm like, okay, good. We can sit down and discuss as we eat cake. Okay, let's go. 2 more answers now. The first one I heard this year actually given was by, next page from the back of the page, Rabbi Rafal Moshe Luria, the great Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Shar Shemayim, right? Rabbi Rafal Moshe Luria wanted to give this question and gives a second answer to the question, why is bias so important? First answer, bias is important. We have to bring the light out to the physical world. We have to know we're sanctifying the physical world, and that's what we're trying to do. When you're in your house, alumni, the mitzvah is to bring the Kedusha into your children, into your wife, into the physical world. That's what we're looking to do. That's what the beauty of the jelly donuts is. That's what the beauty of the dreidel is. We're trying to bring the light down to 3 tefachim all the way down, and express it in the world. Rav Moshe Lurie, the great Rosh Shemayim, he would always explain that the din is a din of Chanukah Sabayis. We have to make it like the Beis Hamikdash. We're trying to make it like the Beis Hamikdash. That's what's going on. We have to remember, this is not just lighting candles, not just Persume Nisa in the world abstractly. What they did is they had a temple and they sanctified the temple. Now we have to be like sanctifying that temple. That's what we're trying to do over here, and therefore it's connected to a house. To remember that what they did was they connected to a house, connected to something physical. They didn't just sit out and light candles on top of mountains. They lit it in a house. He then asked the second question of himself, but why do we do that? What gives us the right to do it? Maybe you should just do it in shul. They should have done it in every synagogue. So he says two answers. He says that we want you to know that every Jewish house can be a Beis Migdash Ma'at. Your house can be a temple, and that's what we're trying to have you do. How do we know that? Because the pasuk says, Vasuli Mikdash, make for me a temple, it says in Parshas Truma, V'shechanti b'socham, plural, and I'll dwell in the midst of you, b'socham. It's not b'socho, in the midst of it, b'socham, he dwells in the midst of us. And therefore every Jew has to know that when they made the Beis Hamikdash, it changed our private houses. And therefore it's a din in our private houses, and that's what the emphasis on Baiso is, on your house. He wants to say that it doesn't just say Baiso, it says Baiso. Your house becomes holy, and that's what we're trying to look for, that your house becomes a Beis Migdash Ma'at. And that was the greatness of the temple. The temple make everybody's house holy. Second answer to the question, okay? Take a look at the answer with me. I'll just read it inside. Should I read it inside? Yeah, I guess I'm going to read it inside. I was going to leave it alone, but I'll read it inside. Start from just what I underlined, next to the one. The fact that you have to light candles in God's house, hu din be'etzem habayis. It's a din in the essence of the temple. The temple has to be illuminated, and therefore our houses have to be illuminated. Not to have light in the Beis Hamikdash would be a profanation of God's name, would be a chilul Hashem. And not to have light and energy in our house is the profanation of our name. Shesarik liyos bo menorah v'dolekes. There has to be in the temple a candelabra that's lit. V'chiyuv gavra al kohanim lahadliku mitzad habayis atzmo. The reason we have to light is because of the house itself. It's like a din mezuzah. Just like a house needs to have a mezuzah to be holy, it's not a din in a person, so too your house has to have light because a house needs to have light. So srich liot bo neros dolokos. You have to have a light, neros that are lit. Shikachu suris Baiso shel melech. That's the way a king's house looks, and that's the way your house has to look. Shiur bo neros dolkos. You have to be giving out energy and light, illumination, and Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of the world. Then that's the Kiddush Hashem, and we're trying to do it like the Beis Hamikdash. Take a look where I wrote 2. You're going to say, okay, very nice, that's beautiful. That sounds a little bit high for me, that everybody's house is a Beis Hamikdash. We should do it in the shul. We should do it in the synagogue then. Do it in the middle of a courtyard. Why in everybody's house? No, because the essence of the Beis Hamikdash was it made our houses holy. That there is a Kedusha, Amnam Chazal, in truth, the rabbis say, Darshu ala Pasuk, in Truma, V'asu li mikdash v'shlechanti b'socham. Make for me a temple, and I'll dwell b'socham, plural. Not b'socho, in the midst of it, but I'll dwell in you. Recognize what the Beis Hamikdash did for all of us. B'socho le'namar. It doesn't say inside of it. Ella b'socham. I'm sorry, I got cut off. I didn't say I cut it off. B'toch kol echad v'echad. God dwells inside each and every one of us. Ki yochol amshich kedusha b'kol habayis. We can, because of the temple, brings holiness, a Beis Migdash Ma'at, to the entire house. The Baiso Mekoach Mikdash. Our house gets a power from the Beis Hamikdash, and that's there, and that's what we have to remember. Take the next part where I underline. That's why the rabbis made this strange din, that it's an obligation like the Rambam and Tosfos say on the house. Why is it on the house? It should be on me as a person. Ishu Baiso. Shakavana v'zeh shekol echad tzarich lamshich kedusha leBaiso. You have to bring the holiness of the temple to your house. And that's what we're remembering, that each house can be a Beis Mikdash mat. Shiur kebayis. Umameli yes shayak bo adlakas neros. And since in the temple there's got to be lights, in your house there's got to be lights, that's what we're going for. That's where Moshe Luria wants to understand it.
And that's how we're able to make a bracha on something that's not ours, because it's got the same kedusha of the Beis Mikdash.
Yeah. Okay, do you hear the second answer, the difference, how it's deeper than the first way we want to explain? Okay, third answer, go to the back of the page. Rav Moshe Shapiro, back of the second page. Rav Moshe Shapiro, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, wanted to explain this idea all the time also. And Rav Moshe wanted to explain differently, a little deeper, differently, that he wanted to explain that there's a morale, he wants to work with the morale, but that there's three aspects. There's God made the world. There's the aspect that God made cities, and then God made our private homes. And most people think, yeah, God made the world. I believe in deism. God created the world, but God doesn't have anything to do with me as an individual. The second aspect is, I believe more than that, I believe the Jewish nation has a history. We have something we can do and we can express as people. Yeah, I can understand that, but my little house is my little house. I do what I do in my house. The third vision is a Baiso, a bias. A house is something that cuts you off from the world. It cuts you off from the community. It's a place where you can think, I do what I do in my house. It's not what the Jewish nation is. It's not what the whole world is. I got my house. I do my crazy shtick. And the chiddush is of Baiso is, no. Hashgacha pratis, God's divine individual intervention. In your house, God is also found. And since the Greeks believed only in first cause, Rav Moshe Shapiro says, they believe in a deistic type of world, perhaps, of a God but not really in individuals. We have to go into our house where we put up walls and we put up blockages and we cut ourselves off and we say, in that house, I have to bring, God's found here. There's individual providence for me, and I have to sanctify that providence. And it may be hard sometimes, and it may be hard to see sometimes, but that's what I have to do. That's the way he understands why the din's on Baiso. Because we want to go to show that God's providence was in the world for each and every individual, even when we cut ourselves off from the Kallah. Take a look at him saying that. Hamaral, bottom where I marked it off, please. Hamaral romez umaskir es zeh b'derech agav. The Maral mentions this in a side way. Shlosha shlavim heim. There's three aspects of reality that God can relate to. There's Metzias, there's reality, God created the world. There's Yishuv, there's a settled place where we all live. Back page there, Shia, flip it all the way over. Okay. And there's bias, there's your house. Skip one paragraph. Pirish amila bias. What's the word bias mean? Zem makom prati, it's an individual place. Shekol echad v'echad nimsa sham. Each person's found there. Im atzmo, im mishahu begufo, and me, someone who's like his body. Ma shenikra Baiso, that's called your house. Kol ma shemitzarech alav liyot be'etzem chelik mimenu. Everything there is your portion. Okay, and that's what he explains. He says that in your house, that's where you have to find yourself. That's where you have to makadosh it, and therefore the din of Baiso is the din of hashgacha pratis. That's what we're looking at. Okay. So we have three understandings, hopefully, of Baiso. First understanding of Baiso is that we have to bring God out to the physical world. Second one is we're making the lighting like the temple's lighting, and the temple's lighting affects me because it changed my individual world. And the third one, I'm looking for hashgacha pratis. I'm looking for God. Even my own individual world, where I put up blockages from the outside world, I have to find God in my own little life. And that's what Chanukah is. And I'm obligated to make my house holy. And Chanukah is about, we have to do it with the family. That's what we're trying to go for. Rashi's approach. Rashi's approach is explained by Reb Chaim Cohen very well. That's the middle page over there. he explains that the chiyuv, like Rashi says, is on everybody in a house. And that's the idea that Baiso means that the father of the house has to make every person in the house illuminated like a candle. The din is a din that my house is like my temple. I have to illuminate for everybody. Maimonides holds, again, I think you did learn this with your guys, that according to the Rambam, when you do Mahadran, if according to the simple understanding, you just do regular, Ner Yishal Beis, you light one candle. If you have 7 kids in the house, according to Mahadran and Mahadran, how many do you light the first night? 7. Well, 8. You and the 7 kids. Yeah, 8. Trick me, right? 8. Okay? You have to light 8. Now, according to the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch, how do you do that though? The father lights for all 8 kids. Only one person lights, like the Sfardim. The Sfardim do like the Shulchan Aruch. One person lights for everybody, right? The next night will be one person lights 14. One person lights 21. I've got 24. 24, right? It's going to go on. What's the idea? So the idea is, Reb Chaim Cohen says, the idea is that the father of the house is obligated. In my cut-off world, I have to make everybody illuminated. It's my obligation to make everybody candles and illuminate them in the house. That's what the Rambam's understanding of the text is. Take a look. And the way we do it is, you can't just trade to the whole world outside. God doesn't make a chiyuv on everybody. God makes the chiyuv on every house and every house. Houses are the way Jews organize. We organize by mishpachot. How do we bring Geula, he says? The beginning of Shmos is, how do we go down to Egypt? Right? Ish ubeso. Everybody goes down with their own house. That's why we start the redemption. So, b'nogei l'shita sovera shechiyuv hu al kol echad v'echad. There's a chiyuv on everybody. Ela hashabayis tanailis chayev. You need to have a house. Mish en lo bayis eno chayev b'ner Chanukah. Ef shalomar sheshlitasam hine be'emes hakoach lagarish es chashkas hayavan. How can we push away the darkness of Greece? Ganuz b'kol echad v'echad b'Yisrael. Each Jew has a light to help us push out the Greeks. And we have to know that everybody's candles got to get lit. Efilu b'prat, even the little kids. Ela shekedei shiyoch lasoseh. You can't expect a little kid to light a light. Srich hu lismalei mikoach haklau. The child needs to get from the cloud, from the public, from some bigger. Habayis, house, husada rishon shall adam litzeis menekudas pratis. A house is a place where a person starts leaving his egocentricity. Ela klau. A house is, and that's what the alumni understand so beautifully. All these narcissistic Machon Shlomo guys over here learning, all they care about is their learning and their tefillah and their tzitzis. Anything else you care about? Learning Torah tzitzis. Cake break. They gave up on cake break. You told Rini you don't want cakes. Come on, guys, you're holy, right? So that's what it is. Mitoch binyan abayis. It's only in the house, yochel archiv levavo gam leklaus from Yisrael. It's from the house that we get the special aspect. An individual can be an individual, and he can come learn to be part of a klal. That's our testing ground. We can't let a person become one of 10,000 people. That won't work. But the house is this place, and that's what Rashi says. A bias, kol ish v'ish. That's the place we learn to appreciate individuality and public integration. Nimsa shebe'emes or ganus. The light is hidden inside of each one. B'kol echad be'ofen amuk. It's very deep. Elishit tzarich es havoda b'poel. You need to work l'schabel al klal. We need to connect to a house. There's got to be a family here. This is hopefully the idea that every alum is trying to build in their own house. K'dei lahavhik, we have to brighten lofia and spread out esor nishmasi atzmi. V'lagarish es yado mechashkei atuma hayavanis, and to push away the darkness of the Greeks. We need that house of the individual and the cloud together. That's the way Rashi understands what Baiso is. That's what we're trying to